Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to Path of Exile. Today we are gonna run the Bazaar map, a tier 11. And we have a interesting set of modifiers. We have rare monsters with nemesis mods. Elemental equilibrium, so our elemental damage is going to be full bar after the very first hit. We are cursed with temporal change, so we're gonna be moving about slightly slower than normal. Well, more than slightly. And we will be cursed with elemental weakness. Normally that would be an issue, but I've made some changes to the build based on the overwhelming amount of feedback I got after the last couple of episodes. I've read them all, I've tried a bunch of suggestions, I gave feedback to a bunch of things. I'm still evaluating a couple of other things before giving feedback on that, but this video also serves as a form of feedback, of course. So first we're gonna eval this, see if we keep what we got, and then I'm gonna go over some of the build changes, and then we're gonna move into the map. It simply became corrupted. Excellent, that means we can move on with the next bit. So, damage is low. So in order to fix that, we went to from a 5 links to a 6 link. So funny thing is, after I bought a lightning coil for about 20 exalts, 6 socket 5 link, 1 or 2 days after, while just running some maps as a warm-up, I actually found another lightning coil which had superior stats to the one I bought. So I figured, let's keep the old lightning coil as one I'll be using and use the new one for getting a 6 link. Well, it took me a bunch of currency, but in the end I did manage to a 6 link, so we now have a new and improved shiny lightning coil with a 6 link. So we are now using Lacerate with added fire damage, melee physical damage, poison support, that is a new one, faster attacks, and multi-strike. So I evaluated a number of options: poison support and concentrated effect, and increased area of effect being the most numerous ones. And I did all of that in one of these very nice shiny tabulas. Interesting fact, our level 87 character, if you switch out lightning coil for a tabula, you're perfectly fine just running tier 8 and tier 9 maps. At least I did not have any issues running that. So the body armor, if it even matters, it matters at the top end, but it doesn't really matter at the tier 8 or 9 maps that I tested things on. So concentrated effect, it reduces the size of the Lacerate sweep, but no, it's already quite a large thing. I actually need to close my inventory in order to see the end of it, because otherwise it just falls off screen. It's that large. So with concentrated effect, I was happily surprised at how useful it still was. It didn't feel like suddenly you were in a fistified melee range. It was still a semi-ranged melee attack, and the damage increase was about 40 or 50%. Let's actually switch to it. 53% more area damage at the size reduction of 25%, and these are only gonna get better as you level it up, but this one is only level 14. So that's why I've got it on weapon switch, just to try it out. That's 53% at the cost of a slightly shorter radius, so you'll be hitting less monsters, you can engage from slightly further, less far away. So you'll be more exposed while doing that. So increased area of effect, of course, just makes the area larger. It doesn't actually affect your damage, but it increases your engagement range, and it increases how many mobs you can potentially be hitting at the same time if there's a large group that's spaced out. That's fine, but not something I was truly interested in. But of course we had poison. This build, it started out as the toxic Viking. Using poison was always one of my goals, and putting it in, it works. The thing is, poison doesn't affect your tooltip DPS. Your tooltip DPS at rest 10,500, while, oh, if you're putting in other things up, you can actually just activate Hatred again and Enfeeble. Oh, but Hatred up, we're at 13,000 DPS. If you then add concentrated effect, you're pushing it close to 19,000, just flat DPS. That's quite a lot. But, no, poison is thematic. And once I put everything into a spreadsheet, at our current poison gem level with all the modifiers from the tree, so the increases to physical, not melee physical, but just the increases to physical damage, area damage, damage over time, and also accounting physical damage bonuses that have certain conditions applied to them. For example, physical damage against bleeding targets, physical damage while based from frenzy charges, while at maximum frenzy charges, because we do have outmatch and outlast over here, which gives us more damage when we are at a maximum frenzy charges. Now if you apply all of those modifiers, then the poison damage, also the duration, normally it's 8% of the damage that you deal with for physical and chaos damage, 8% of the total damage, and it's applied per second over 2 seconds. So basically you get 16% of your damage that way, if you really simplify it. Duration gets extended a little bit by adding some quality to your poison support, and I believe I don't actually have anything that increases the duration, though if you would go over here, skill duration actually adds another 10% to it. So for poison build, dirty techniques over here is actually a very interesting wheel to go for. But if you add everything up, then from the physical damage that you put in, 65% of that damage is applied over the entire duration of the poison as poison damage. So that's a mix of physical and chaos damage over time, which I think is nice. Basically it's a 65% more multiplier based on your physical damage, and it's a damage over time. So I think it compares rather well to the concentrated effect, especially if you consider that you keep your normal engagement range. So for now, we're testing that. I might change it in the future, but for now, I figured let's play with it for a little bit. Our setup with the Blasphemy. So we have Blasphemy and Enfeeble still set up. So we still radiate an aura that enfeebles everything, so they have a more difficult time hitting us. Crits will be less painful, their base damage is going to be lower. It's just all the defensive goodness that you could expect from there. But I did take out Temporal Change and replaced it with Hatred, so we are boosting our damage, but we're no longer slowing monsters down as much. It's a trade-off. I'm playing with it still, just evaluating whether this works or not. And for now it works fine. Now tier 9, tier 10 maps are still okay. I haven't really done any red maps yet to test this out, but we're gonna do the Bazaar, so that's where we will see. And because we are now on a single curse, we no longer need our boots for the wind screams to get us a second curse. So I switched out to a two-tone boots, which are a map exclusive, and they drop in all flavors of elements, and this one adds fire and lightning resistance, which I was low on. So this one rolled with nice lightning resistance, and I added some fire on top. So our resistances are now 169 for the lowest, and everything else is above 180. Which means we will be able to deal with elemental weakness maps. If they just chop off 30% or 35% of our elemental resistance, we are still going to be in a good shape. So that's why this map with elemental weakness is not going to be an issue because of that. And for the rest, everything is still the same, making the changes slowly as I go. And I didn't really have a lot of time over the weekend. So let's see how this works out on a tier 11 map. Oh wait, skill tree. Of course, because we are, one of the things previous run we had dual curses plus Herald of Ash, which was really pushing our mana to the limits. That's a kind way of putting it, I think. So we ended up picking up Champion of the Cause in order to reduce our amount of mana reserved. That was still not quite a comfortable spot. So while running the precinct, I actually ended up turning off a Herald of Ash. So I took it out and I had an empty thing in a skill slot, One of the tips was to try and see if I could take along a Vaal lightning trap, because it adds just a bunch of burst damage. I only had level 1, so I'm still leveling, and I've got one on weapon switch that's also leveling, so I can eventually cycle 2 of them through. At low level, the damage really isn't impressive against a high level monsters, so I'm just leveling it to basically get it to a state where it's actually dealing relevant damage so we can judge it. But for now, that's in the slot over here. And that is what I think we have all the changes for. So let's have a actual run at the Bazaar.
Greed is the only god here.
So we are going to be slower than normal because of the temp change. We are still, however, going to be lethal. Gonna stick to the left-hand wall here and see how we make it through. So our resistances are still capped, exactly capped for the cold one to be specifically. So I believe in red maps we'll be at 70% resistance because there the curse is 5% stronger, or 5 percentage points stronger. Ooh. I think we have found the enemy, or they have found us, either way. Time to engage and murder. Okay, I think I'm gonna slightly turn away from the walls here, so let's get back. Just stick to the wall. There's a reflector in here. Still not an issue. So the boss of the Bazaar is gonna be someone who will be animating statues. We will be fighting the incarnation of Marseilles the Defaced and the Goddess of Purity at different stages of the boss's life. So I think that's going to be an interesting one. We get multiple sub-bosses during the boss fight. So it's just going to be another opportunity to stack more damage, and also for our multi-strike to be tagging multiple targets and causing a bleeding and poison to everybody. Hello everybody. This is just too large a party to not tag them. So, but here you see them slowly ticking down. Just do a couple of hits and then they just tag down. It works right well. And of course, the more we hit them, the more we stack the poison damage, because poison is a stacking form of damage, while bleeding is not. Bleeding, only the most powerful instance of bleeding that's active at a time will stick, or will be in effect. They will all stick, but only one will actually be in effect. While with poison, all the stacks are in effect. And that's why, especially with a very fast attacking Lacerate build, poison is a rather ideal form of damage, because we will be stacking those poison things. So that's the Vaal lightning traps leveling. So because it's not really a serious form of damage, might as well just throw one in. Like that. So it shoots out these projectiles. And of course, because of the lightning damage, there's a pretty good chance they'll get shocked. Oh, it actually leaves shocking ground, so obviously the monsters will get shocked. Therefore they take 50% more damage, or increased damage. I think it's more. Don't have a tooltip handy, so I can't double check, but either way, it's probably gonna be more. It's just not effective otherwise. Well, we found the arena, so the boss fight is gonna happen now. Keep a portal here just in case, and then we hop in. There's a bunch of animatable statues in here, and from what I understand they will get activated during the course of the fight. Hello there, ancient sculptor. Okay, let's put down the totem and just do some flask-based damage increase. Interesting side effect of our series Promise flask is that, of course, it adds a bunch of chaos damage. All our physical and elemental damage 40% of the no, 25% of one and 15% of the other type. It's added as chaos damage. And of course chaos damage counts as a damage source for poison, just as well as physical damage. So hitting that series flask, you could think of it as just doubling the amount of poison damage that we'll be dealing. And we just massively smashed through this fight. Of course, dealing more damage means we are leeching more life. And with our slightly increased life pool, of course we have a slightly larger buffer to deal with, just the one shots. But if we're leeching more life and regenerating more life, it means that we will be able to just take more damage over time. And as a consequence, stay alive longer. Of course, this is quote-unquote only a tier 11 map. And despite it having a 38% increased monster pack size, it's not really the most challenging of the levels. It's just an interesting one. But I am curious how we are going to be dealing with the even higher tier content. And no, despite the temp change making it slower for us to move about, we could just do this as a just tank them and basically ignore them kind of battle. And that's why the temp change wasn't overly effective for us, or it wasn't really an issue. It's mostly more of a nuisance because just moving about the map becomes slower. But I'm recording this on the Monday before the Breach League is gonna be live. I think tomorrow even the Essence League is gonna end. So we were really getting close to the next league. And my goal for this character is still to at least see if I can face one of the Guardians, maybe more of the Guardians, but at least one of them. So I do still want to try Core and at some point defeat Core. And after that go onwards to the Phoenix. So if Inner Treasure, if I don't manage to defeat it before the Breach League starts, this series is gonna extend slightly. Maybe not at a daily pace, or definitely not at a daily pace, but I will be continuing the series at least until we've defeated the Guardian. It's now I've come so far, I'm not gonna give up now. And I'm sure that for all of you watching, you're curious to see how things go as well, if I'll actually manage to get the build into a shape where I can take on the Core. And mostly, what changes are going to be relevant to the builds? Well, how is the build going to change in order to deal with it? And what lessons can we learn from there? And basically how to become better as a player from that. Because, well, improvements to builds, it's no parts, just different skills, different gear, different skill tree choices, different, just different stats. Part just as a player getting better, it's just handling certain things, making better choices, or just picking certain mods, knowing what's really gonna not be fun to run, or but given your reflexes, how well can you deal with certain types of content. It's gonna be, I think it's still gonna be interesting. But I've been spending quite some time in the Standard League, and I'm actually itching to get back into one of the temporary leagues and have some fun there. There's this solo self-found thing that Project PT has been promoting for quite a while now. And for this league there's also a Reddit thread and even a website where basically people can just sign themselves up that they'll be participating in the solo self-found. Basically they'll be playing the new Breach League under the solo self-found rules. And no, there's no way of enforcing it, it's just no gentleman's rules, so to say. Or no, it's all honor. An honor system, yeah, I think that's actually what it was called. And I'll be participating in that one. So Breach League, I'll be playing hardcore and I'll be going back to solo self-found, which is how I started. And I think somewhere around Parentis League, I think it was around the end of Parentis League where I changed there and just started getting a bit into trade, and it's also when I got into the end game and no, just the gearing up that was required for that. But now that I've gone a couple of leagues and just gotten some more experience with the end game, I'm curious to see if I go back to my old playstyle. If the lessons I've learned about just difficulty and just life numbers, damage numbers, things like that, if they'll help me just stay alive longer. So it's gonna be interesting. And I'm just currently wondering where the heck are the monsters, but I think there's a little corner over there. And if it's not there, then we'll call it quits here. Okay, we'll call it a quits here. So those 29 monsters, they're somewhere, but they're lucky. Yeah, they're lucky. Of course. Then a snake comes walking in. I still keep wanting to have something on the minimap that it's just highlighted where you've been. No, just a path that you've traced, or just with some shading to indicate where you have or have not been. But yeah, this is it's really easy to miss things in open maps like this. It's actually way easier to have those small connected rooms, because then at least you can see where the heck you have and have not been. Okay, so this is an outside, we've been there, so maybe it's just the inners over there. Yeah. Okay. Now we're truly calling it quits. Back to the hideout. Okay. So there you have it, the Bazaar. We ran it, I updated the build, and there's definitely going to be more changes to the builds. But for now, I'm simply going to thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.